3. All right. Welcome, Tawheed. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your time.
So, Tawheed, why don't you start up with an introduction to yourself and what you have done?
Sure, sir. First of all, good morning, sir. My name is Tawheed Mahalti. Recently completed my BTech in July 2022. Next, joined as a design engineer in an automobile company where I had worked around 3 to 4 months. Later, I have learned AWS DevOps course, Python, SQL, and these got me passion for cloud computing. From January, I'm doing I'm pursuing AWS Restart program powered by Generations of India, where I'm learning AWS Solution Architect Associate. I have I have good hands-on experience in AWS services, in 100 plus AWS services, plus Linux administration and key services like EC2, S3, GPC, and IAM. And I have a knowledge in cost optimization, data migration, and AWS CLI, plus some DevOps tools like Jenkins, Git, and Docker, Terraform. That's all about from my side, sir.
Okay, cool. Now, Tawheed, can you start let me know about what is the most complex project you have done, and probably go into some of the tech stacks in detail and try to elaborate as much as possible.
Yes, sir. Past month, I have done a project using Terraform, Docker. I have built a WordPress website using this Terraform, Docker, plus using some database services of AWS like RDS. So I have not initially introduced with these DevOps tools, but I have tried to use the documentation of the Terraform, Docker, etc. And I have built some projects.
Okay. You have spoken about Docker a little bit. Can you tell me what do you understand by a container?
So container is nothing but it's a working environment where we can pull an image and start the image, but then the image will be in working condition, where we don't need to need the operating system, sir. We don't need the operating system. The application can run without the need of the operating system.
Okay.
Like the host operating.
Right. And what are the layers of a container?
The first layer will be the host machine. After that, we have to install the Docker application. After the Docker application, directly we can install our web server or applications. We don't need to install the guest operating system like we will be doing in virtualization or VM software.
Okay. And so do you understand the difference between SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
Yes, sir. IaaS is nothing but infrastructure as a service. It is a service it is example of AWS, sir. Okay. Where we have to where we don't need to where the providing services will provide the compute, storage, and networking services, where we don't have to where we don't have to buy or manage the databases, etc., sir. Okay. Where their platform as a service is nothing but it is a service where we can it is a completely managed service where we can give our application code, then it will automatically resize and manage its desired capacity. It will manage completely by itself, where we don't have to manage or see the configurations, etc. Whereas SaaS is nothing but it is a software as a service. It is nothing like it is nothing like application, it's a Chrome application or email application, where it is completely managed and created by the provider, where we have to just use where we need to just use the application.
Okay. Now you said that you've used containers. So how do containers communicate in Kubernetes?
So it has some networking. So I'm not able to recall right now.
Okay. So yeah. So next question would have been if you could have told that how do you restrict the communication, but that's all right. Do you have any understanding of how does Kubernetes orchestrate containers? So can you tell me something about the like the control plane, node planes, and how does Kubernetes work?
Like I'm new to the Kubernetes. Currently I'm not able to recall. Like
No problems at all. So have you used load balancers?
yes, sir.
Okay. What is a sticky session in load balancing?
Okay, sir. So I'll tell you like with an example, sir. But it is nothing but it is a so suppose if suppose I'm using a I'm filling an application in the like I'm filling an application form in the like in a website. Suppose my internet gives trouble, or it is or the website goes down. After some time, when I'll be like after some time when I'll be like again filling out the form, then it will give the it will give another like it will not store the previous information of our user. So by this session keys, it will redirect the same server for the for the customer to like for the second time as well, sir. By this the customer by this the customer will get the information which he has entered previously.
Mhm.
Like it will allocate the same server for the second time as well, like by not distributing the traffic to another server.
All right. I think you have an understanding of the concept, but probably you're not able to get it into the right
Hello.
terms. Yep. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. No, I'm no, it's not a question.
Okay. All right. So can you tell me how many types of load balancers are there?
Yes, sir. There are currently three types, sir. Like application load balancer, network load balancer, and network gateway.
Okay. And can you tell me the difference between application and network load balancers?
Yes, sir. Like application load balancer is used for directing the traffic to the applications, whereas the network load balancer, it has more it has more features compared to application load balancer, where like generally the application load balancer is used for applications, whereas the load balancer is used for the others like services.
Okay. So have you heard of level 4 and level 7 load balancers like TCP IP and the network packets?
No, sir, no, sir, I'm not aware of.
No problems. Uh, you said that you have worked on Linux.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about how do you log into from one Linux box to another Linux box without using a password?
So like first of all, we need to configure like the we need to we need to give the passwords for the another machine in this only. So like we have to configure the.
Help you out. Have you heard of SSH keys, the private and
Yes,
public?
sir.
Do you know
Yes,
how
sir.
to use the SSH keys to actually do an authentication without a password?
Yes, sir. Like SSH keys is like it's a keeper. By this we can like log into our server.
Yeah. So you need to actually create an SSH key, use the public key into an authorized key into the another server, and then you can log in.
Yes.
All right. Uh, you said that you have used around 100 plus AWS services. Uh, have you heard of IAM?
Yes, sir.
Right.
Identity access and management.
So where have you used IAM, and can you tell me why would you use IAM, and what are the advantages of it?
So, sir, IAM is nothing but a security service provided by the Amazon. So basically, its policy is to give the least privileged access for the user or for the service, like as least as possible for our security purposes. So for this, IAM has like users, groups, and roles. Whereas in IAM roles, IAM users, we can create the users like for their purpose, like for what they are, like for what they like what they are authenticated to use.
Okay.
Like we can create for the least privileges.
What do you understand by what's the difference between authentication and authorization?
Yes, sir. Like authentication is a permission like to access to access a service, whereas authorization is kind of a permission mm, for how much level a person can access it, like for how much.
Okay. And have you heard of identity federation?
Yes, sir. Identification.
Can you tell me about what is an identity federation?
Identification is like a third party. For suppose, like example, for AWS, we don't need to create an credentials. If the Facebook, like for example, in my case, like Facebook, it has the Active Directory, it has its employee IDs and passwords. So by that, we can like log into our AWS services as well with this identity federations.
Mhm. Okay.
Like we don't need to create the AWS identity.
Can you tell me the detailed steps? So let's say uh, if I'm using a client browser and I'm trying to work in through an identity federation, can you tell me what are the different steps that take place in the backend? So what happens
Sure.
from the
Like, I'm not
browser?
sure, but I'll try to.
Have you heard of access tokens and authentication tokens? Do you know how these work in at the background?
No, sir, no.
Alright. Uh, so what other tools have you used in AWS? Have you used AWS Lambda?
Yes, sir. I have learned about AWS Lambda, but didn't get a chance to work on it. So it's
Uh,
basically serverless service provided by AWS. So,
all right. What do you understand by an edge location in AWS?
sure, sir. Its locations are CDN endpoints. It is located in most of the cities all over the world. It is basically it is used by the cloud front to distribute the content to the end users. Like it will be storing the caches of the content, and it will help the cloud front to distribute to the end users without by the low latency.
Right. And what are the AWS services that can be combined with the edge locations?
The first one is CloudFront, sir. Route 53 will be.
Okay. What else? Do you think S3 can be associated with an edge location?
Yes, sir, sure, sir. Like to retrieve the data from the S3, sir. Like it will be used.
Okay. All right. So let's assume that we have got 5 different VPCs, and
Sure, sir.
so what AWS toolkit or module would you use to have interconnectivity between all those VPCs? So which shouldn't cost you for any traffic.
Yes, sir. Like for connecting two VPCs, we'll be using VPC pairing. For multiple VPCs, we can use the transit pairing, sir.
Transit gateway.
Yeah,
Right. And what is the difference between a VPC pairing and a transit gateway?
Yeah, like for VPC pairing, we can connect to VPC and VPC sir. By this transit gateway, we can connect multiple VPCs so that they can share the data over the same network.
Right. And have you heard of NAT instance and NAT gateways?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what is NAT used for?
Generally, NAT is used to give the internet connection for the private subnets. It is installed in the public subnet, and it is and in the route table will be giving the route to the private as well. So by this, the private subnet can access to the internet using this NAT instance.
When would you use a NAT instance and when would you use a NAT gateway?
I'm not recalling it right now.
That's all right. Okay. Now, in terms of the load balancers again, so what are the different types of routing policies?
Yes, sir. Like there are 4 to 5 types of routing policies. The first one is geolocation routing policies. Second one is weighted routing policy. Third one is simple routing policy. Fourth one is geo proximity routing policy. And fifth one is I'm not recalling. Like there are 4 to 5 types of routing policy.
Two of them. So there's a latency-based routing policy. So can you tell me the difference between a weighted routing policy and a latency-based routing policy?
So weighted routing policy is nothing but like we have been like set the routing policy like for the server one we should the traffic should be directed only the 45 like 40 to 50%, like we can set like that. For the server 2 the remaining traffic should be routed, whereas the latency routing, it is based on the end user location. By that, if suppose end user is located in India, the server which has the lowest latency, that traffic will be routed to that server.
Okay. Now, let's say you're creating a project from scratch and you got a 3-tier architecture. So in terms of cloud security, what are the fundamental things that you will implement for the application to be secure?
For the three-tier application.
Or you can take a 5-tier application if you want, but the question is that what are the fundamental aspects of security that you will ensure that your application is very, very secure?
Yeah, sure, sir. Like for deploying my application in the cloud, I'll be creating my VPC, that is virtually logically isolated network in the cloud. After that, I'll be creating the NACL, that is the network access control list. That will restrict the incoming/outgoing traffic on the subnet level. After that, I'll be creating security groups that will restrict the incoming traffic at the instance level. By this, I can give the security for my application. There are like many other services as well that can give the security, like AWS WAF, web application firewall, plus the guard duty, plus many other services which can give the security for my applications.
Okay. Now, in terms of, so let's say you have a 3-tier architecture. So can you tell me which of the components would you place in a public subnet and which one of them in a private subnet?
Sure, sir. Like for my public subnet, I'll be keeping the servers which needs to be accessed by the public, like my servers or my websites, web servers. I'll be keeping in the public subnets, whereas my databases and other private other private resources, I'll be keeping in my private subnets. By this, the end public by this the end customers will be only accessing the public face network, public face resources.
Okay. And let's say if your application layer requires some access to internet to download some content and you have placed it in a private subnet, how will you get internet access to your private subnet?
So as I have said you, we can use the NAT instance. By that we can get the internet access to our private subnet.
Okay.
We had another service we can use, but I'm not getting right now.
Okay.
Like to give the internet access to our private subnet. I'm not recalling that.
What of internet gateway?
Bastion host. By that we can get the internet.
Okay. And what about internet gateways?
Yeah, we can attach the internet gateway to our public subnets. That will be not the internet gateway will be in we will be not attaching it to our private subnet. No?
That's correct. But would you? So the next question for you is, if I'm attaching my internet gateway to a public subnet, and then from the private subnet, I'm attaching it to the NAT gateway. So do you think the traffic goes from your private subnet to your NAT gateway and then through your internet gateway, and then does it go get the internet, or can it just use the NAT gateway and that's it?
Like the request from the private subnet will first go to the NAT gateway, then from there, then will it will be like goes out of the like networks, like out of our VPCs.
That would be through the internet gateway.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So have you worked on databases?
Yes, sir. I have a little bit worked on it.
Do you know the difference between a SQL and a NoSQL database?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can you expand?
Yeah, like SQL database, nothing but a relational database where we need to like manage and give the data in a rows and columns ways. Whereas NoSQL database, nothing but key and value pair. Like for this service, we have like a DynamoDB in AWS service.
And can you tell me about scenarios where you would use an RDS and where you would use an NoSQL?
Yes, sir. Like we can keep the complex data in RDS whereas in sorry sir, where yeah, the complex data we can keep in RDS, whereas in only the name and value, like the name and value data in a DynamoDB. Like DynamoDB is used for it gives like a millisecond low latency. Like it is a high speed network, high speed service. This can be used in using in gaming services, or very complex queries. Like this can be used.
All right. And how do you back up a DynamoDB?
Like with a like
Like in RDS, you have to take a snapshot and you have to take a backup, right? How do you
yes, sir. Yes.
back up DynamoDB?
I think we can take the backup by with the snapshots itself, sir.
That was a trick question. You don't back up DynamoDB. It's all done by within AWS itself. So yeah.
Sorry, I was not aware of it.
No, that's fine completely. All right. So what about, have you used CI/CD?
Yes, sir. In like I had used around like 3 to 4 months back. I have used, like, not in depth, but I know like how it works. Some.
Okay. So are you aware? So what have you used? Have you used Git?
Yes, sir. I have used it.
Okay. What are the different branching strategies in Git?
So like there are two types as far as I think I know, sir. There is a master branch and this slave branch, sir, where we can divide the branch and do our do our programming, and after we are satisfied, then we can merge it to the master branch.
And what's the difference between branching and forking?
Branching and poking.
Fork. You understand, like knife and fork.
Fork. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Fork.
Do you know what a forking is?
No, sir, I don't.
All right. Okay. So if I ask you to create a Git repository, and like whenever you're doing some commits into a specific branch, you want some CI process to run along with it. So how would you execute that? So let's say you want to commit something in Git and you want the Jenkins to run automatically. So do you know some sort of configuration, how, if you can do that? Is it possible, or how would you do that if it is?
Yeah, yes, sir. I think we can do with Jenkins pipelines, where we can set the conditions, like whenever the Git has a new commit, it will automatically pull the code from the Git. Then it will build the code, like it will make the artifact, and after that it will test, and we can deploy it in the servers. Like we can make the pipelines using some conditions.
Okay. Now, I think we are just coming on towards the end of the interview here. So just
Yes,
wanted to have an understanding of how much do you know about DevOps? What do you understand by DevOps?
so basically, DevOps is nothing but the collaboration and communication between the software developers and IT professionals to automate the to automate the deployment of the application and changes in the infrastructure. So it's nothing but it is basically a methodology.
Okay. And so what are the different, can you tell me what are the components of DevOps and what are the different tools that you can think of?
Yes, sir. Uh, like first of all, for like the basic tool we can be uses Linux. Like without that we can't do anything. After that, we can use like Git Jenkins for CI/CD, plus Docker for containerization, and Ansible for configuration management. Plus Kubernetes for orchestration purpose. Uh, we can use like Terraform for infrastructure as code to create our infrastructure using scripts, etc. After that, we can use like some monitoring tools like Nagios or some Datadogs. We can use like Chef tool also for configuration and analysis of the code.
All right. So you've got a tool like Artifactory or Nexus. Where would you use that?
Like I didn't heard about that.
All right. Now, in terms of your CI, so what's the difference between CI and CD?
CI and CD, sir. Continuous integration and continuous delivery. Continuous integration consists of the like continuously getting the code from Git. Next, the next step in the in CI is continuously building the code, like making it artifact. After that, the step 3 will be like continuously testing. In the CI, the fourth step will be like continuous delivery. Whereas if it's continuous deployments, the first step will be like continuous deployment. Uh, After that, the continuous delivery. After making the required processes, it will deploy into the server, into the prod server.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Tawhid. So I'm towards the end of my questions now. So as this was a mock interview, but yeah, thank you for your time today. So I think yeah, you did well, and yeah, best of luck. All right.
Thank you,
So
sir.
do
Thank you
you
for your
have
attention.
any questions for me?
Can you give me like a feedback where I need to improve a little bit?
So I can do that. So I'll just do this after this recording. So, but yeah, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your time, sir.